Is Kevin Stefanski quietly sabotaging the most exciting rookie quarterback in the NFL before he even takes a snap? At first glance, it sounds ridiculous, just another hot take cooked up for clicks. But over the last few weeks, something strange has been brewing inside the Cleveland Browns organization. Something that has fans asking tough questions, players raising eyebrows, and insiders quietly whispering about a potential implosion. And it all exploded when Skip Bayless, arguably the loudest voice in sports media, went on air and dropped a bombshell. This wasn't the usual Skip trash talk. It wasn't about LeBron or Dak or Brady. This was different. This time, he accused Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski of flat-out refusing to play rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Not for football reasons, but personal ones. And as crazy as that sounds, what followed was a trail of evidence missed opportunities, eyebrow-raising decisions, and one explosive Sunday blowout that actually supports every wild thing Skip just said. What's happening behind the scenes in Cleveland might be more than just a QB controversy. It could be a full-blown power struggle. And if the rumors are true, it's about to reshape the future of the entire franchise. Sunday afternoon, the Cleveland Browns are absolutely handing it to the Miami Dolphins. The scoreboard says 31-6 with just under 5 minutes left in the game. It's a blowout. The kind where fans start leaving early, the broadcast team starts cracking jokes, and most importantly, backups take over. This is routine across the NFL. When the game is out of reach, you protect your starters. You let your second-string guys get real-time reps, and sometimes you even toss in a third-stringer just to keep morale high and broadcasters guessing. Nobody questions this. It's practically sacred football tradition. Except in Cleveland. Because while the Browns starters were still out there eating up meaningless minutes, number 12, Shedeur Sanders, was sitting calmly on the bench, waiting, watching, not playing. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel, the rookie quarterback selected after Sanders in the draft, was still under center, running the offense like it was a tie game. And Jerome Ford? Still taking hits after already racking up 25 carries. The game was decided. The outcome sealed. But for some reason, Cleveland's coaching staff treated it like it wasn't. Every NFL coach would pull their starters in this situation. Kevin Stefanski didn't, and nobody could explain why. That's when every camera angle suddenly had one question printed under the score. Why is Sanders still on the bench? And more importantly, why hasn't he played a single snap? If this were a rookie still buried on the depth chart, maybe it wouldn't have made waves. But this is Shedeur Sanders, one of the most hyped rookie QBs in recent memory. A player analysts ranked ahead of Dillon Gabriel across nearly every platform. A quarterback with pedigree, performance, and presence. And yet, in the one moment where it would have made perfect sense to let him get a taste of NFL speed, no pressure, no expectations, just pure development time, Stefanski said no. Even more strange? Every other starter stayed in. Players were still risking injury, still absorbing hits in a game that was completely out of reach for the opponent. If Stefanski was trying to preserve Gabriel's confidence after a solid performance, why continue exposing your entire starting offense to injury risk? It didn't add up. Unless the decision had nothing to do with strategy and everything to do with something personal. That's when Skip Bayless entered the chat and lit the whole thing on fire. Skip Bayless isn't new to saying outrageous things on national television. It's his brand, his currency. The man has made millions by turning hot takes into headline news. So when he started talking about the Browns this past Monday, most people expected the usual fireworks and exaggerated monologues. But this time, it was different. Because Skip didn't just criticize Kevin Stefanski's coaching decisions, he accused the head coach of having a personal vendetta against Shedeur Sanders. Not performance-based, not developmental, personnel. According to Skip, Stefanski loathed the idea of Shedeur being on his roster, loathed the attention, loathed the hype, loathed everything that came with being Deion Sanders' son. And most of all, he didn't want him anywhere near a football field in a Browns uniform. Whether as a starter, a backup, or even taking garbage time snaps, Skip claimed Stefanski wanted no part of Sanders being part of this team's future or even its present. Let that sink in. Not just he's not ready, not he needs more time in the system, but I don't want this guy playing at all. On air, Skip didn't flinch at the reaction. In fact, he doubled down, saying that internal sources told him Stefanski had already drawn a line in the sand with the Browns front office, that he'd made it clear behind closed doors. he was riding with Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders wasn't part of his vision. And here's the mind-twisting part. As wild and dramatic as it sounded, Skip might actually be right. Because when you stack up what happened Sunday against what we've seen since training camp, the pieces suddenly start fitting together in a very uncomfortable way. Remember, Shedeur never took first-team reps. Not during camp, not during joint practices, not once. Gabriel got all of them. And even when Shedeur shined during short preseason stints, Stefanski never let the leash off. It was as if his fate had already been decided before his cleats hit the grass in Cleveland. Skip's rant hit harder because it's not coming out of nowhere. It's not built on some viral tweet or a clickbait comment. It's built on a pattern from spring workouts to a meaningless fourth quarter in Week 3 that should have been Shedeur's first NFL moment. Suddenly, this story isn't about letting your backup rest. It's starting to look like something way more targeted and way more personal. And if what Skip is alleging is even half true, the ripple effects could reach from the head coach's office all the way to the team owner's suite. Because if a coach is undermining a quarterback drafted on the owner's dollar, things are going to get messy. Fast. Looking back, the warning signs were always there. We just didn't want to believe them. When Shedeur Sanders was drafted, it felt like the Browns had finally landed the kind of quarterback prospect with both star power and raw talent. Analysts praised the pick. Fans were buzzing. Social media lit up with highlights from his days at Colorado, the deep throws, the pocket movement, the leadership, the swagger. He looked like a future franchise QB before he ever put on a Browns jersey. But then training camp happened, and the mood shifted fast. From day one, Dillon Gabriel received every single first-team rep. Not most. Not the majority. All of them. And while Shedeur was dressed, warming up, and fully healthy, he was relegated to watching practice just like the fans were. Even in meaningless drills or walkthroughs, Stefanski kept the leash short. The message was loud, clear, and impossible to ignore if you were paying attention. Gabriel's our guy. Sanders is just here. Let's pause and think about that. You've got two rookie quarterbacks. One, Dillon Gabriel, was considered a late day 2 pick at best, a solid athlete with mechanical accuracy but limited upside. The other, Shedeur Sanders, had a higher draft grade across nearly every major scouting report, more high-pressure college experience, better intangibles, and frankly, a better arm. And yet, Sanders was basically iced out of the QB competition before it even started. Not one first-team snap, not one mixed rep day. Not even a coin flip series split. At the time, most people brushed it off. Stefanski defenders said it was just evaluation, that maybe Shedeur needed more time to adjust to NFL speed, that Gabriel had command of the playbook. But now, looking back with everything we've learned, it looks like a setup, especially when you consider what happened in the preseason. Shedeur did get some playing time in those early scrimmages, and yeah, he looked a little raw in spots most rookie QBs do. But the flashes were there, the arm was live, the instincts were real. The moment wasn't too big for him. And yet, by the time final depth charts came out, Stefanski made his position official. Gabriel QB, Shedeur QB3. Behind a journeyman, behind his draft class rival, and behind an invisible wall that, until Skip Bayless brought it up, nobody in the media had the guts to acknowledge. Because this wasn't just conservative coaching anymore, it was calculated exclusion. And as the weeks went by, the cracks turned into gaps. The decision-making got more suspicious. And the tension between what fans were seeing and what the coaching staff was doing started to feel impossible to explain, unless you believed what Skip suggested. That the real issue had nothing to do with talent, and everything to do with control. By the time week 1 of the regular season rolled around, the Browns made things official, and that's when everything really stopped making sense. Dillon Gabriel wasn't just named the starter. Shedeur Sanders was listed as the third-string quarterback. Not second, not backup, not a situational option. Third string. Behind a QB, he was consistently rated higher than in college. Behind a player the football world saw as a system passer, while Sanders was known for playmaking and raw upside. That move left analysts stunned. How do you justify burying your higher-rated pick, one that even national media dubbed a future franchise cornerstone behind a rookie some scouts didn't even consider starter material in year 1? Here's a reminder. Shedeur Sanders had more passing yards, more touchdowns, a higher completion percentage, and better poise under pressure at Colorado than Gabriel posted at Oklahoma. Oh, and he did it behind one of the worst offensive lines in Power 5 football. He took hits, he played through chaos, he still delivered. And yet, when it came time for the season to begin, the Browns looked at that resume and said, "We'll go with the other guy." If you're not viewing this situation through a larger lens, it's easy to get lost in the old-school excuses. Oh, Shedeur just needs time. Gabriel's grasp of the system is better. They're both rookies, Gabriel just earned it in practice. But here's the problem. None of that holds up on film. Because once games started, the Browns weren't protecting Gabriel with a scaled-back playbook, they were letting him run the offense. But more than that, they were refusing to even acknowledge the possibility of Sanders stepping in. And that Dolphins game in Week 3? That's where the depth chart nonsense turned into full-blown dysfunction. 31-6. Blowout. Garbage time. And instead of giving their second-round investment live reps a perfect opportunity for a young quarterback to settle in, they did nothing. Gabriel stayed in. The starters stayed on the field. The clock kept ticking, and Shedeur Sanders sat isolated on the bench, again. If this were any other rookie QB, sure, maybe you chalk it up to weird coaching decisions. But this isn't just another rookie. This is Deion Sanders' son, one of the most talked about players coming out of the draft, sitting behind a guy no one predicted would start in Week 1, while a team full of veterans puts their bodies on the line unnecessarily. And at that point, fans weren't just frustrated. They were starting to realize something deeper might be going on, because that wasn't about depth charts anymore. It looked like something personal, something political, something that let pride, not performance, make the decisions. By now, it was clear something wasn't adding up, and then ESPN Cleveland dropped a theory that blew the whole thing wide open. According to multiple insiders, the real reason Shedeur Sanders didn't step on the field in that blowout win over Miami had nothing to do with development and everything to do with fear. Not fear that he'd play poorly. Not fear that he'd get hurt. But fear that he'd play too well. Let that sink in. The Browns coaching staff reportedly held back a highly touted rookie because they were scared he might succeed. Scared that if Shedeur marched onto the field, ran the offense with confidence, and maybe even scored, the crowd would erupt. The locker room would shift, fan pressure would skyrocket. And Kevin Stefanski? He'd have no explanation left for keeping Sanders on the bench. Because if Shedeur walked in during garbage time and effortlessly drove down the field against a deflated Dolphins defense, which, let's be honest, has been roasted all season then in one instant, the entire Browns quarterback narrative would flip on its head. Tweets would fly. First take segments would be locked in before sunrise. Comment sections would turn into riots. Skip Bayless would look validated. And Stefanski? He'd be forced to answer one brutal question. Why wasn't this guy playing weeks ago? The threat wasn't just that Shedeur could play. It's that he could shine with ease. And suddenly, Dillon Gabriel's spot would become impossible to defend. Because Gabriel has been just okay. There's no fire, no explosiveness, no signature moments. He's not falling apart, but he's also not making anyone feel like they're watching the next great Browns quarterback. Meanwhile, the one guy who could light up a dead offense is being intentionally iced out. And if you're still not convinced, ask yourself this. If the game was in hand, if it was truly over, if there was no downside to giving Shedeur a few meaningless snaps, then what exactly were they afraid of? Quarterback controversies don't happen because of bad play. They happen when the guy waiting in the shadows starts looking like he might be the better option. And deep down, that's what Stefanski and the coaching staff were terrified of. Because the moment Shedeur Sanders steps on that field and gets the crowd buzzing, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. You can't unsee talent. You can't unhear the crowd. And you can't stop a quarterback controversy once it starts, especially when the fans already want it. Here's where things go from uncomfortable to undeniable. Because according to multiple league sources speaking directly to ESPN, Shedeur Sanders is going to start the final 4 games of the season. Period. Doesn't matter what Dillon Gabriel does. Doesn't matter where the team sits in the standings, the Browns are locked in on evaluating Shedeur before the year ends. Think about what that means. The coaching staff knows it. The front office knows it. Ownership? They've practically mandated it. Everyone from the locker room to the boardroom understands that Shedeur Sanders is going to get his shot. It's no longer a debate. Not speculation. Not a maybe if he earns it situation. It's happening. So here's the question. If the Browns are already planning to hand the keys over to Shedeur Sanders, why are they holding him hostage on the sidelines now? Why burn away precious reps in garbage time? Why let him rot behind a quarterback with an obvious ceiling and minimal upside? Why wait until the pressure is sky high, with playoff hopes dashed and the season's momentum gone, to finally give the kid a chance? Because if Shedeur's debut is inevitable, and it is, then every snap he's missing right now is a wasted opportunity to get him ready. And there's only one explanation that actually fits the bizarre decisions we've been watching play out since training camp. It's personnel. Kevin Stefanski knows the front office favors Shedeur. He knows ownership pushed hard to draft him. He knows the buzz is swallowing the building. And, reportedly, he knows his job security may evaporate the moment Sanders steps in and looks better than Gabriel. That's not a crazy theory. In fact, Skip Bayless said it out loud on national TV. If Stefanski gives in to playing Shedeur, he's finished. Done. Because it's not just about playing the better quarterback, it's about admitting he was wrong. Wrong about the depth chart. Wrong about Gabriel's long-term potential. Wrong to ignore Shedeur's talent for 3 straight weeks. So now Stefanski is in cornered coach territory. Losing games gets him fired, but giving in and playing Shedeur could do the same if the rookie shines and makes the staff's earlier decisions look foolish. That's the real nightmare for Stefanski. Not losing, not even controversy, but being proven wrong. And when ego enters the equation, the playbook goes out the window. Now it's not about football anymore. It's about control. At this point, what started as a simple quarterback depth chart has turned into a civil war inside the Cleveland Browns organization, and it's threatening to tear everything apart from the inside out. On one side, you have Kevin Stefanski, a 2-time Coach of the Year with a playoff win under his belt and a reputation for being methodical, steady, and in control. He's earned credibility. He's built trust, but he's also digging in. Stefanski has hitched his reputation to Dillon Gabriel. That was his guy. Word inside team circles is that Stefanski personally fought for Gabriel on draft night, told the front office he saw something special, and has since made him the focal point first-team reps in camp, early starter designation, protected reps through 3 games. The entire coaching playbook geared around helping Gabriel succeed. On the other side, everyone else. Reports suggest the front office loves Shedeur, not just as a flashy prospect, but as the smarter long-term investment. Multiple sources say the Browns had Sanders rated higher than Gabriel pre-draft. Ownership reportedly leaned toward drafting Shedeur aggressively because of his ceiling, his pedigree, and the buzz he brings, both on the field and off it. And it's not just executives. Insiders hint that coordinators and offensive staffers see it too. They're watching Sanders crush scout team reps in practice, throw dimes on the run, and still not see the field. Frustration is boiling behind the scenes. You don't have to squint to see what's happening. This isn't just a quarterback competition anymore. This is a referendum on power. Who really makes the football decisions in Cleveland? Is it the head coach protecting his preferred player? Or is it the decision-makers above him, watching from the owner's box, growing more impatient with every checkdown pass and every wasted drive? Here's what's wild. No amount of coaching awards or past playoff runs can shield Stefanski from what's coming if Shedeur steps onto the field and outshines Gabriel. Because that punch lands at the top, a direct hit to the coach's judgment, credibility, and authority. And that's what Stefanski is fighting to protect. Not a win-loss record, not a game plan, his grip on this locker room. Because if Sanders goes in and delivers, that's not just a shift in quarterback depth. It's a shift in franchise power. And maybe deep down, Stefanski knows if that happens, he's already lost. Let's be fair, Dillon Gabriel isn't the villain here. He's not out there flopping or throwing games. He's doing exactly what the coaching staff is asking. Manage the offense, limit mistakes, play safe. And to give him credit, he's shown flashes of mobility, rolled out with decent touch on short throws, and stayed calm under pressure. But here's the uncomfortable truth. He's not moving the needle. In the Browns' 31-6 win over Miami, Gabriel completed 13 passes for just 116 yards. 13 completions, barely cracking triple digits. That's not commanding an NFL offense, that's babysitting it. They didn't win because Gabriel made great plays. They won because Jerome Ford steamrolled a soft Dolphins defense for 3 touchdowns, and the Browns' own defense made life miserable for Miami for 4 straight quarters. That win had everything: dominant running game, turnover pressure, big plays on defense, but the quarterback, he just existed. He didn't elevate, he didn't surprise, and he definitely didn't change the game. Tony Rizzo of ESPN Cleveland said it best. Gabriel's stat line might be clean, but he could easily have thrown up to 7 interceptions this season if defenders had better hands. He's sailing passes, making late reads, and sometimes putting the ball in places it has no business going. The Browns are 1-2, but even their one win had people asking, wait, Gabriel threw for how many yards? Safe football sounds great until it starts costing you games. This isn't the early 2000s anymore. You can't expect to protect the football and sneak your way into victories off defense alone. In today's NFL, a quarterback needs to take over at times, create plays, make throws that scare opposing coordinators, stretch the field so defenders can't load up on your running back every single down. Gabriel's not doing any of that. And worse, there haven't been any aha moments. No flashes of, oh, okay, that's what the staff sees in him. No late-game heroics, no wow throws, nothing that says, here's our guy. Right now, the best anyone can say about Dillon Gabriel is, he doesn't lose you the game. But what the Browns desperately need is someone who can win it. And that brings us right back to Shedeur Sanders. Because while Gabriel's strengths lie in risk aversion, Sanders' talent lies in calculated aggression, pushing the ball, creating out of chaos, and maximizing every snap. Exactly what this offense is missing. And the longer the Browns keep suppressing that kind of talent, the more obvious it becomes that playing it safe might actually be the riskiest decision of all. Here's the thing, if Shedeur Sanders were just hype all name, no game this wouldn't be a conversation. Nobody's risking a locker room split or play calling drama over a guy who can't deliver. But Shedeur? He's the real deal. At Colorado, he faced elite defenses almost weekly, played behind a disastrous offensive line, and still racked up numbers that demanded national attention. We saw him take hits, bounce back, make NFL-caliber throws while running for his life, and never flinch. He didn't just survive tough situations, he owned them. This is a quarterback who played bigger than his program, bigger than expectations, bigger than excuses. That's leadership. Now translate that to the NFL. The Browns' offense is begging for life. They've got elite run potential with Jerome Ford, a defense that's already playoff caliber, and receivers who just need someone to create real passing lanes. What's missing? A quarterback who isn't afraid to take a shot. Shedeur gives them exactly that. He's not reckless, he's calculated. He doesn't just force throws downfield, he hunts for opportunities, moves defenders with his eyes, and has the arm talent to make tight window throws look routine. And let's not ignore the intangibles. There's a swagger to Shedeur that this team desperately needs. Not cockiness, confidence, the kind that turns the stadium electric the moment he steps onto the field. Watch his games at Colorado. Watch the way his teammates responded to him, the way crowds woke up when he had the ball. He doesn't just run an offense, he ignites it. You can feel it through the screen. That's what's missing in Cleveland right now. The Browns don't need another game manager. They need a spark. Someone who walks into the huddle and changes the energy. Someone defenses can't ignore. A quarterback who brings unpredictability, explosiveness, and most importantly, belief. And yes, maybe that does mean throwing a pick once in a while learning the system. But maybe it also means 40-yard bombs, last-minute drives, and big play energy that finally unlocks the full potential of this offense. Dillon Gabriel? He gets you 13 completions and 100 yards, and your defense wins the game for you. Shedeur Sanders? He might get you 280 and 3 touchdowns, complete with a highlight reel and a post-game Twitter meltdown from opposing fans. That's the difference. It's not about safe versus reckless. It's about limited versus unlimited. The Browns drafted Shedeur Sanders for a reason. The fans can feel it, the locker room knows it, and the only person who seems to be pretending it isn't real is the one making the calls. Here's the reality. No one in the Browns organization can escape anymore. Shedeur Sanders is going to get his shot. And when he does, it's going to change everything. The only question left is how. Let's look at both possibilities. Scenario 1. He struggles. He looks raw. Maybe he misses throws, holds the ball too long, or tosses a pick in a tight situation. It wouldn't be surprising he's a rookie. He hasn't gotten reps. He's learning in real time against NFL speed, with a fan base breathing down his neck. If that happens, honestly, it's not the end of the world. In fact, it validates Stefanski's slow play approach, gives him breathing room, allows the coaching staff to say, see, this takes time. Shedeur gets experience, the team gets answers, and the next offseason becomes about building around what they now know, not guessing from the sidelines. But then there's scenario 2. Shedeur steps onto the field in Week 7, Week 8, maybe due to pressure, maybe because Gabriel sputters again, and from the moment he takes the first snap, you feel the shift. First play, a 6-yard slant. Simple, clean, efficient. Next drive, he escapes pressure, rolls right, and flings a strike across his body to the sideline. Crowd wakes up. Then comes the moment. A 35-yard deep shot dropped right into the receiver's hands. Touchdown. Fireworks. Just like that, the Browns' offense feels alive. And suddenly, everything changes. Fans lose their minds. Twitter explodes. The media replays highlight after highlight. Damon Amendolara is talking about it on CBS. Colin Cowherd's making quarterback pyramid updates. Skip Bayless is already tweeting, "I told y'all what was coming." And Kevin Stefanski? He's sitting in the post-game press conference trying to explain why that kid wasn't playing from day one. That's the coach's nightmare. Not losing games. Not even quarterback drama. Being proven wrong in front of the league. Because if Shedeur goes out there and does what most believe he can do, it won't just make Stefanski look cautious. It will make him look like he buried the franchise quarterback out of pride. But here's the twist. Even if Shedeur struggles, it's still the right move. Because the Browns aren't winning a Super Bowl this year, they're not lighting up the scoreboard. They're 1-2, unsure, unsteady, and stuck in neutral. So wouldn't you rather watch your possible future quarterback grow through fire than waste the season on someone who may never move beyond safe? This moment, Shedeur's debut will happen, either too late or right when it matters most. And when it does, Cleveland's going to find out real quick whether they've been sitting on a star or shadowboxing with their ego.